This
Yeah.
conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Come. Let's get started. Parshat Bo. Um, on page 340 in our stone Chumash, Perek Yud, chapter 10, Pasuk Aleph, verse 1. Now, in order to have a sense of what is happening over here, we really need to go back to the end of Parshat Ve'era as we left off last week. The last of the plagues, right? We've had 7 of the 10 plagues, and it would seem strange, right? We know that we don't follow the Perek, that's the church who divided it up by the chapters, but we follow the different breaks in the Torah, the paragraph breaks in the Torah itself, and we have our separate parshiot that the Torah reading was divided up into these separate parshiot. That way we complete the entire Torah reading every year. Actually, the Gemara, the Talmud in Megillah discusses that there was some place at a custom that they were on a three-year cycle. Not the way that there are some denominations of Judaism that they read a third of the Parsha each year, right? But Breshit took 3 weeks, Noach took 3 weeks, and it was a 3-year process. Whatever the case is, we have divided up the Parshiot. So we would imagine, why are we splitting it up in the middle of the plagues? If we are splitting the middle of the plagues, it must mean that this is a point where we're taking a different direction. Even though we're in the midst of the 10 plagues, the first 7 was with a certain purpose, and now we're switching gears. Why would we be switching gears? So the last plague was barad, was hail. And we've been discussing how this is all, if God wanted to get us out of Egypt, he doesn't need 10 plagues. He doesn't need 1 plague. He just could take us out of Egypt. The whole scenario here of all the plagues is in order to try to get Pharaoh to recognize. Pharaoh, with his polytheistic mind of the rain god and the sun god and the Nile god and the earth god and the mountain god and the this god and that god, that is all within this world. But in fact, there is a creator that is beyond this entire world, intimately involved, but not within the world. Rabbi Sachs of blessed memory would put very beautifully that people often say that, well, science replaces God. Meaning, we used to think, oh, it's the rain god. Now we understand that no, now there is precipitation, hurricanes. We now understand scientifically what happens, why things happen. So therefore, science has replaced God. And he says that's very incorrect. Science, he says, has replaced polytheism. Science has replaced, it's not the anger of the rain god or of the sun god or of the this god or the that god. We understand there is a natural flow to the world, and scientifically we can understand why there are these natural physical events that take place. But monotheism is not what, it is why. Meaning, polytheism is within the world. Why is this happening? Monotheism is this God that is beyond, that is controlling everything. Now, I recently saw something that I thought was ingenious. Now, very often people will say that, well, religion fills in the gaps of what science hasn't yet understood. But as more science, the more we understand with science, the less we have a need for God. And someone I saw, I'm reading an interesting book, and he made the point that actually, at this point, science is working against all the developments of science is pushing against the no God thinking. Why? Because now science is going deeper and deeper, and we're understanding more and more and more about just how incredibly precise and how overwhelmingly off the charts a human cell, a single cell, the DNA in the cell, what that contains and how it contains. And I took a biology, I didn't take it, my daughter took a biology course this summer. So I was studying with her and just going through how the cell and the ATP and how it's all working, and within the cell, the whole network that takes place. And it's science fiction to the nth degree. And they're still discovering more and more and more and more and more. And the more they discover, the possibility of all this happening on its own, by chance, we just keep adding zeros and zeros and zeros. It's one in, a trillion, trillion, trillion. It's zeros from here literally to the moon. So at this point, science is not filling in the gaps. Oh, that's how. Oh, that's why. Oh, we don't need God. That's how. On the contrary, science is revealing to us the depth and the intricacy of everything in this world, both on the macro and the micro scale, that it's not pushing against God. It's saying this could not just have happened on its own. This does not happen randomly. You have how many billions of in a single cell of the DNA pairing, right? And if one of them goes off, then the person it could be a fatal disease. It just goes on and on and on. But the message to Pharaoh, to the Pharaoh, was meant to be recognize, bow to God. And we got there. At the end of the Parsha Pharaoh, we got there. Pharaoh on page 338, Pasuk Chav Zayin 27. Pharaoh said, Chatati hapam. All of a sudden, we mentioned last week, he's using a different language. I have sinned. I have sinned. That's a whole different mindset. Hashem HaTzadik, God is the righteous one. V'ani HaRishayim, and I and my people, we are the evil ones. Now again, we mentioned last week, in a polytheistic society, it's not righteous and evil. It's my God and your God, right? I bet for this team, and you were rooting for that team. Right? If your team wins, it doesn't mean you're righteous and I'm evil. Your team won. We'll play again next week. Maybe my team will win. The only way that we can introduce this idea of tzaddik and rasha, of righteous and non-righteous, and of sinning, is when I realize that there is this overarching God in the world, and he's controlling everything. He's controlling my heart, telling it to beat and to beat again and to beat again. So it's not like me rooting for the sun god, but now the rain god won and there's a lot of rain, but don't worry, it'll be sunny tomorrow. No, it's the one that's encompassing, in charge of orchestrating everything, including every breath that I take. If that's who I'm going against, that's not betting on the wrong horse. That is undermining my own existence, my own self. That's a sin. And Pharaoh finally reached that point when it came to the Makkah, the seventh plague, which was Barad, which was hail, because like we mentioned, it was Eish Mitlakachat, B'tocha Barat. There was fire that was inside the Barad. And in the polytheistic realm, the rain god and the fire god don't have a partnership and then fight together. It's one against the other. The fact that these two were coexisting and coming at him was this tremendous blow to the whole polytheistic mindset. And therefore, Pharaoh finally came around to it. Great, we're finally there. However, how did that parsha end? Page 338, verse 34, verse 35. Vayar Paro saw ki chadal matar v'avra v'kol v'yosef lachato. He saw that all of that had stopped, and he continued to sin. Vayachbeid libo, and he made his heart. And he made his heart stubborn, he and his servants. Next pasuk 35. Vayechazak leiv Paro. God strengthened the heart of Paro. There's the stubborn heart, and there is the strong heart. Paro makes his heart stubborn. He's holding on. He's not going to give in no matter what. God strengthens his heart. Strong-hearted is a positive thing. What does strong-hearted do? And we discussed last week. By God strengthening his heart, he's taking away the fear that he should be feeling. And thereby, by not having that fear, he's allowing Paro to choose what he wants to do. But here now, we finish this Parsha, a whole break in the Torah. We've come to a point now that Paro reached this recognition and said, I'm still going to fight. But I recognize tzaddik, Rasha, righteous, evil, sin. I recognize all that, but I'm still going to fight again. I recognize it's not this polytheistic. I recognize this is God that is above everything, but I'm not going to bend. I'm fighting against the God of the universe, not this polytheistic Elohim. I recognize this is the God of all gods, the force of all forces, and I'm still going to fight. If that's the case, now we're entering a whole new phase, a whole new stage. That Parsha Va'era ends. And now we begin Parshat Bo. And we're going to hear a very, very different tone. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe. God said to Moshe, Bo el Paro. Come to Paro. At this point, there is no point anymore. But nevertheless, go to Paro, or actually come to Paro. Why? Ki ani hichbadeti et libo. Oh, this is new ground. I'm going to make his heart stubborn. At this point, he's not going to be, I'm going to make his heart, not strengthening his heart. Hichbadeti. I will make his heart stubborn. That leiv avadav, and the heart of his servants. Leman shiti ototai ela bikirbo, in order that I will put these signs in his midst. I've written him off. It's no longer in order that he will come around, but rather pasuk bet verse 2, Leman tisaper ba'azne vincho vevincha, that you will relate into the ears of your children and your children's children. Et asher hitalalti b'Mitzrayim. How I made, the English is great, how I made a mockery out of Egypt. Ve'et ototai, and the different wonders, signs that I placed on. V'yadatem, and you will know, ki ani Hashem, that I am Hashem. At this point, it's for Bnei Yisroel, it's for the children of Israel. Paro is hopeless, right? He already recognized and he still wants to fight. Nothing more to talk about. But how does Moshe do it? Listen to the tone change now. Vayava Moshe Aaron el Paro. Moshe and Aaron come to Paro and they say to him, Kama Hashem Elokei Avrim. This is what God, the God of Abram, says. An matai me anta le'anot mi panai. Until when are you going to continue to refuse to bow before me? Right? Now already, what is he doing? He's putting it in Paro's face. Paro is Mr. Ego, and he is undermining that ego, right? Right? That's how you speak to me. How dare you speak? Don't you know who I am? How dare you speak to me? And that's just going to make Paro that much more stubborn. Shalach ami v'yavduni, send forth my people and serve me. Ki im ma'enat shaleach. If you're going to refuse, I'm going to bring arbe bigvulecha. I'm going to bring locusts into your borders, right? And in such a society, we know in the Middle East, we hear about this. When locust comes, that just wipes everything out. There's nothing left. There's nothing left. And it's going to cover the eye. You won't be able to even see the land. And whatever's been left from the barad is going to be consumed. It's going to fill your houses, the houses of all your servants, the house of all Egypt, like they've never seen before. And then look at this, Pasuk Vav, verse 6. And then what do? Vayif and vayetze me'im Paro. They turned and they walked out from before Paro. Right? You ever see when a person walks out of a shul, right? A person's leaving the kotel area, right? So we back up, right? We don't turn our back and walk away. We back up, and then we leave. Right? Here it's vayif and vayetze me'im Paro. They got up and they stormed out. They didn't ask for permission to take leave, right? They are slamming at his ego over here. Until when are you going to be so stubborn? They walked out. Paro is starting to lose his grip. Vayomru avdei Pharaoh elav. All of a sudden, the servants, we have a bit of an insurrection over here. His slaves, his servants start to speak to him. An matai yizelenu l'mokesh. Until when are they going to continue to be for us this trap, this stumbling? Shalach et anashim, send them forth, and let them serve Hashem their God. Haterem teda, right? Do you not yet realize ki avda Mitzrayim, that Egypt is being destroyed? Wow. They've taken their cue from Moshe, and they're speaking to Paro in a way that he's never been spoken to before. Vayushav et Moshe et Aaron al Paro. And then Moshe and Aaron were brought back. Paro didn't say bring them back, but they were brought back. The servants brought them back. And Paro's trying to make a deal now. Vayomer aleim, and Paro said to them, L'chu, you can go. Ivdu et Hashem Elokeichem, go serve Hashem your God. The moment that Moshe has been waiting for, not in the middle of a plague. Help me, I'll send them. We're in the respite. There is no plague now. And he's saying, you can go. Go serve Hashem your God. Mi v'mi ha'olchim. But who and who is going to go? Meaning, Paro can't let go. He has to have this sense, I'm in control. You can go, but mi v'mi ha'olchim, who's going to go? So Paro is almost begging Moshe, let me have a little bit of face saving over here. Let me be able to have a little bit of dignity in this. Right? Vayomer Moshe, we're past that point. Moshe is going to be slamming at his pride, at his sense of control, at his ego. And Moshe says, Bin Areinu, Uviz Kanenu Nelech. Moshe does not give in an inch. Bin Areinu with our young, Uviz Kanenu with our old. Bivanenu, Ubivnotenu, with our sons and with our daughters. Bitsonenu, Uviv Karenu, with our flock and with our cattle, Nelech, we will go. Kichag Hashem Lanu. This is a festival for Hashem with us. And therefore, Moshe says, Paro, I'm not giving you anything. I'm not allowing you to say, oh, you see, I won. No, we're past that point. Paro says, it's not going to work. No, loche, no. Let the men go and serve God. That's what you've been asking for. Vayigaresh otam me'et pnei Paro. Last time they turned around and walked out. Paro did not want to give them the chance to walk out again. You're not going to walk out on me. I'm going to throw you out. Once again, he's desperately trying to show I'm in control, right? You can't walk out, right? You can't hang up on me. I'm going to hang up first, right? I'm not going to let you hang up on me. You're not going to walk out on me. I'm going to throw you out. But Yigaresh Osam, and they were driven out from before Paro. Fair enough. Here it comes. So Hashem tells Moshe, stretch your hand to the heavens, Pasuk Yud Bet, and the locust came, and they ate up everything exactly as had been forecasted. Pasuk Tetzayin 16, Vayamar Paro hurried, L'krola Moshe Lam, L'kol Moshe V'yomer, and he said, Chatati l'Hashem Elokechem v'lachem, I've sinned to Hashem your God and to you, right? But we've already played the I've sinned card, and it didn't get us anywhere, right? You've already shown that you can accept this sovereign God, and you have sinned against this God, but then you're right back then refusing again. Therefore, he said, Yud Zayin 17, carry my sin just this time and pray to God, to Hashem your God, and take away just this death. They went out, they prayed, Hashem brought a strong wind, and all of the locusts were all blown right out of there. V'chazek Hashem elei Pharaoh, and Hashem strengthened the heart of Pharaoh, below Shilach et Bnei Yisrael, right? He did not send forth Bnei Yisrael. Page 344, Hashem said to Moshe, there's going to be this darkness on Egypt. Vayamesh choshech, this tangible choshech that can be felt. And Moshe did that, and there was choshech afilah in Mitzrayim for 3 days that people could not even move. Right? Well, first 3 days darkness, and then 3 days it couldn't even move. At the end, 24, Paro calls to Moshe and says, L'chu ivdu et Hashem, go, serve God. But he's got to hold on. He's got to stay in control. He's got to show, yes, I'm the one who's doing it. I'm in control still. Rak tzonchem uvekarchem yutzag. Gam tapchem ilechem achem. I'm willing to concede. Even the children can go. Everyone can go. But tzonchem uvekarchem. The only thing is your cattle, your flock. Let them stay here. Give me that. Give me something. Let me have some vestige of self-respect, of dignity. Let me show my people I am their king. I am the ruler here. I have control. Give me something. Vayomer Moshe. Moshe says, oh, thanks for bringing that up. The issue of the cattle and the flock. Thanks for bringing that up. I meant to talk to you about that. By the way, in addition to us taking all of our own cattle and flock, we'd like you to contribute to the cause also. He's literally rubbing Paro's nose right in it at this point. Right? Oh, you want me to show that you're in control? And I should agree to your demand, your insistence that the animals stay? Actually, how about you? You'll also contribute. You'll also give us vachivalot. Right? And of course, and of course, our own cattle is going with us. Lo tishe'er parsa. There will not be a single hoof left in Egypt. Because with that we will be serving Hashem our God, and we don't know exactly what Hashem is going to be asking from us. Therefore, Moshe's not giving an inch, not allowing Paro, because this is, remember we said, Parsha Bo, the last three, this new Parsha is a new stage. It's the stage of mockery. Paro's not coming around, so now he needs to be made into the biggest laughingstock, the biggest fool. And that way we will recognize how every power in this world is a joke, is an absolute joke when we're standing before God. Hashem et lev Paro, Hashem hardened, strengthened the heart of Paro. He did not agree to send them. And Paro said, Lech me'alai, go away, out from before me. Hishamer lecha, al tosef ropanai, right? On the day, right? Don't come back to see me. On the day that you see my face, Tamut, you will die. Moshe said, fair enough. You spoke well. I'm not coming to you. You'll be coming to me. But I'm not going to be coming to you at this point. And Hashem said to Moshe, one more, page 346, one more plague I'm going to bring on Paro and on Mitzrayim, and after that he will send you. End game, end of story. It's been this long ordeal. And Moshe, you thought that it was going to be a short series of events. And that's why at the end of Parshat Shemot, you complained, Lama Hariota, why have you done bad? It's gotten worse from the time I came to Paro. You thought it was going to be quick succession. And it was not, and it has not been. But now we are reaching the end point. And I want you to have the people borrow, ask for different vessels from the Egyptians. Why is that? There needs to be some righting of the wrong, some correcting of this injustice, of this slavery that's been imposed. There needs to be some payment. Right? Even the everyday Egyptians need to feel that they're making some payment now for this slave labor. You know, to this day, we still hear in the news about different German companies that profited, that gained from the slave labor of the Jews in the concentration camp, Jews and others, but predominantly Jews in the concentration camps during World War II. And these companies are paying reparations. Right? This is the reparations that needed to start to be paid. The Talmud tells a story of an Egyptian came to the Roman Caesar and said, the Jews owe us money. Right? And he said, why the Jews? They said, look in their Torah. The Torah says that they borrowed all this gold and silver vessels from us, and they never brought it back. They owe us the money. Caesar says, okay. He calls in a Jewish representative, and he said, and he presents the claim, and the representative says, "Give us 3 days, we'll return to you." Comes back 3 days later, and the Jewish spokesperson says, "We're willing to make a deal." He's got a valid claim, right? Yes, we did take gold and silver vessels, and we didn't return it. And where did he bring his proof from? From the Torah. So we'll bring our point from the very same Torah. And it says we were enslaved there for 430, 400, 210, however you understand it, right? We were there for 210 years. 600,000 men were working for 210 years. Let's calculate the wages of how much the Egyptians owe the Jewish people. We'll deduct the silver and gold vessels, and we'll be very happy with the balance. Caesar calls in this Egyptian, presents the Jewish side, and he says, "Give me 3 days, please, to respond." The Caesar gives him 3 days, and that was the end. He never heard back from him again. Right? He didn't come back after 3 days. Okay? So this is the writing to a certain degree. This is the reparations that are being paid. Vayomer Moshe, and Moshe said, "Ko Amar Hashem." And this was all said before he left, as he did, right? Rashi explains this nevuah was all said during the last time, and therefore this was not him coming back after Pharaoh said, "Don't come back." And he said, "Koma Hashem kachatzot halayla." Kachatzot halayla. Right? Interesting. The English doesn't say bachatzot, at midnight, at the stroke of midnight. It says kachatzot. Ka, like, thereabouts, right around midnight. What is this, right around midnight? Right? If God says midnight, it's exactly at midnight. What is this, right around midnight? And the sages explain incredibly that Moshe knew it was going to be exactly at midnight. But he was afraid that the astrologers of Egypt, the timekeepers of Egypt, would be off 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 90 seconds. They'd be off. And they would say, "Oh, you see, Moshe's a liar. Moshe is a liar. He said midnight, and it didn't happen midnight." And we see, just if a person wants to deny, just how far they will go to deny. Meaning, because every firstborn in Egypt died, but not at 12:00:00, right? But it was at 11:59:40, or it was 12:00:37 seconds. It wasn't at midnight, so it wasn't God. A person will do whatever they can do to deny. If you don't want to hear, you're not going to hear. And there's no way, there's nothing that can be done to convince you. So if they want to deny, they will deny. They'll say it didn't happen at midnight. So therefore Moshe said, kachatzat, at around midnight. Even though, of course, it would happen exactly at midnight. And our sages say, lamad l'shon chalomar eini yodeya. A person should become accustomed. Train your tongue. Have some muscle memory. Train your tongue to say, "I'm not sure. I'm not sure." I've learned when I go to look for something in the house and I don't find it, I've learned I don't say, "It's not there." I say, "I didn't find it." Right? I didn't find it. That's true. It's not there. Well, actually, if you would have just pick this up, it was right there. Teach yourself not to say, teach yourself to say, I don't know. Not that it's not there, it's that I didn't see it. I didn't find it. And there's a certain humility that needs to be there, that needs to come along. That needs to come along. We had in our Mishlei class last night how humility, anivus, that is the basis for everything. If a person is humble, then that, first of all, there can be no honor. Person cannot get any honor if the person does not have a certain degree of humility, right? Because if you don't have humility, any honor, I can't get enough honor, so I do whatever I can to get more and more honor. And there's nothing more dishonorable than a person who's rushing to get honor. It ends up making a person look so silly. I remember I was in Israel at a minyan one morning, and the rabbi or the gabbai there, whoever it was, at the end of davening, got up, and there were some important rabbis who were visiting. So the rabbi there, or the gabbai, said, "We like to welcome so and so rabbi who's here, so and so rabbi who's here." Very nice, right? All of a sudden, you see this person run over to the rabbi and basically said, "I'm Rabbi so and so, and I'm here." So I said, "And I'd like to welcome Rabbi so and so," right? And I was looking at it like in shock, right? Does the person think that that's how he's going to get honor, right? You know, when you look, the only way to get honor is to move away from it, run away from it, right? And not look over your shoulder to make sure that it's chasing you as you are running away from it, right? And yeah, so lamad l'shon chalomar eni odeya, right? Teach your tongue, teach your mouth, teach yourself to be able to say, I don't know, right? Explain it to me. Tell me about. I don't know about that. That sounds fascinating, right? Ezehu chacham, who's a wise person? Alome mikol adam, someone who learns from everyone. We could always learn. There's always what to learn. Okay, so Moshe says that there's going to be a tzaka gedolah, the chol eretz Mitzrayim. There's going to be a great cry in all the land of Egypt. That is Pasuk Vav, chapter 11, Pasuk Vav. Asher kamo lo niyata, v'chamo lo yier. Like that there never was, and there never will be again. Just 1 second. Just 1 second. Hold the place here. Turn back to page 314 for a moment. This is talking about when Moshe had gone to Pharaoh. Pharaoh says, I don't know who this God is. I'm not going to send them, right? Why are Moshe and Aaron bothering them from their hard work, right? Pharaoh commanded the commanders then to say, don't give them the straw, verse 7, as you've given in the past. Let them go collect the raw materials to make their bricks. But the tally, the amount of bricks that they're making in the past, that we cannot diminish from. Kinir pimheim. Why? Because they are weak, they are lazy. Al kain heim tsoakim. And that's why they are tsoakim. That's why they are crying out, saying, Nelchan nisbar le'elokeinu. So what's Pharaoh doing? He's ignoring their cries. He is undermining. He is delegitimizing. There's no reason to cry. Why are they crying out? Oh, because they're lazy. That's why they are tzoakim. So Paro dismissed their cries. I don't care about your cries. Your cries are not genuine cries. You right? You're just lazy. That's why you're crying out. Paro dismissed the cries. Moshe tells Paro, remember those cries? Well, that you dismissed. Now the cries will no longer be coming from us. It'll come from you. V'ayta tzaka gedola b'chol eretz Mitzrayim. There's going to be such a crying out in all the land of Egypt. Asher kamolo niyata. There never was crying like that in the past. You thought our cries and you dismissed those cries. Now you're going to hear real cries. Now you're going to see what crying is. Now you're going to see what it feels like when you're the ones who are doing the crying. And there's no respite. And there's no way to escape it. You're going to experience what you subjected us to. But there's going to be this perfect tranquility, silence, serenity by Bnei Yisrael. And that way you'll know how Hashem differentiates between Mitzrayim and Israel. And they're all going to come, your servants will all come down. And Paro, you too, will come down and bow down to me and say, go, leave, you and everything. And then they left Paro, b'chariaf. Paro said, don't see me again? Okay, we got one more thing to tell you. And then we left. And then we left Paro. Moshe, page 340, Hashem said to Moshe, Paro is not going to listen. In order that will be said before, I will increase my wonders in the land of Egypt. Moshe and Aaron did all these signs. Hashem strengthened the heart of Paro and did not send Bnei Yisrael me'ar so. So at this point, we're ready for the plague to come. Makat b'chorot. And then all of a sudden, we have this break. I remember when I was a kid, my father, Lav Hashem, Av Yortzei, with the learning today should be Le'ila Nishas, my father, Asher Chaim ben Tzvi, Av Yortzei for my father today. So he took my sister, Hashem, and I, he took Debbie and I to the movies, to see Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Everybody remembers Chitty Chitty Bang Bang? So there's one point in the movie where the car goes off the cliff and it's going down into the ocean. And I don't want to ruin. And that's when they had intermission. Intermission! It was a 15-minute break to go get some popcorn, chocolate, soda, right? And then, of course, when we come back, right, it's off the cliff, it's going down, and just as about to hit the water, the wings sprout out of the car and they fly. But as it's going into the ocean, that's where they have the intermission of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, right? And that's what we have over here, right? We're right at the point of Makat B'chorot, and look at chapter 12. It's astounding, right? If you want, we'll just look on the English side where we have the little notes on the side. Rosh Chodesh. Let me introduce to you the idea of Rosh Chodesh. Chodesh Zelachem Rosh Chodashim. Nisan will always be the first month. We'll always count from Nisan. That's what even Rosh Hashanah is, the first day of the 7th month. We're always counting from Nisan. So always remember Rosh Hashanah. Page 351, the Pesach offering. On the 10th of this month, they should take themselves a lamb or a kid, each father's house, and unblemished should be yours. Examine the 14th day, put the blood on the doorpost, eat it roasted that night. Amazing, right? Don't eat it partially roasted, cooked in water, right? And then, right, page 353, God himself will carry out the plague, fair enough. Then the Pesach festival. Let's talk about the Pesach festival. Page 355, right? First day will be a Yom Tov. 7th day will be a Yom Tov. The middle days will be the Chol HaMoed. Be careful with the matzot. 7 days, no chametz in your houses. The Pesach offering, exactly how we bring the Pesach offering. And here we are, page 357, 29 verses later. Vayihi bachatzi halayla, verse 29, page 356, 357, and it was bachatzi halayla, right smack in the middle of the night, and Hashem smote every bechor in the land of Egypt. Vatihi tzaka gedolah, there was a great outcry. Pharaoh comes to Moshe, go out for my people, your nation, everyone, go serve Hashem. Look at the very last word on page 356, such an important word. Kidaberchem, as you have spoken, not on my terms that I so desperately was trying to hold on to, but kidaberchem, as on your terms, on your words. Page 358, gam tzonchem, gam vikarchem, cattle, sheep, as you have spoken, as you have said, right? Meaning, Rashi explains what's as you have said, that you said will also contribute, we will also contribute. Yes. Go. Uveirachtem gamoti. And do me a favor. Give me a bracha also. Give me a blessing also. Right? And now, all of a sudden, the Mitzrim are forcing us to leave, go out quickly. And we picked up the dough before it became leavened, and we put it onto our shoulders, and we left, right? And we left, we exited from Ramses, and with our matzah. So a double question that's actually the same question, or the same answer to the two questions. Why do we have this massive, right? It was a cliffhanger over here. Why do we have this massive break between what was going to happen and happened? Between the foretelling of the plague of the firstborn and it happening. And furthermore, right? It's been 210 years of slavery. Why couldn't God give us an extra 18 minutes? Start the whole process 18 minutes earlier. Let it go 18 minutes longer. And let's walk out having some nice, freshly baked bread. Why are we leaving chomp, chomp, chomp on the matzah? Why are we leaving with this matzah? God could not orchestrate it better, that we leave. Everything starts 18 minutes earlier. We have our nice 18 minutes, no matzah. We have some good, delicious bread to sink our teeth into. Matzah is lechem oni, is the bread of affliction. We pick it up at the Seder. Halach ma'anya diachla vatana. This is the bread of affliction that our fathers ate in the land of Egypt. We break that middle matzah because the matzah was broken bread that they ate. They got scraps, broken pieces of matzah. So matzah on one hand represents the deliverance, but it's also the bread of affliction. It's the poor man's bread. It's the slave's bread. Why are we breaking it up like this with all these laws of Pesach? Why are we leaving Egypt and chomping on this matzah? Remember, a couple of years ago, I was in Costco, and they were selling they had their shmura matzah boxes. I had like seven or eight boxes in my cart. Someone says to me, "Excuse me, what are those?" I said, "They're special food for the Jewish holiday of Passover. It's a type of a cracker. The, a lot goes into their baking, so it's pretty expensive. So I don't know if it's worth it for you to buy a box. I don't know if you need to spend $15. They say matzah is the one thing that the contents taste like the box. God couldn't arrange it better for us to go out and sink our teeth into a nice French croissant as we're leaving finally as free people, right? We have to be chomping on that matzah as we're going out. What do you say, my friends?
I think it's another way of remembering what happened, and something that we can forever remember about the slavery.
Okay. So Ruth, you want to say that we'll forever remember? If we're eating bread, we eat bread all year round. We have to forever remember, and they even then, So I can hear that, Ruth. So I can hear we should eat matzah every year as the bread of affliction to remember that. But why did they have to eat matzah as they were leaving? I understand for us, granted, every year Pesach time we should eat matzah to remember the bread that they ate during their slavery. But why did they have to eat the matzah as they're leaving? Let them sink their teeth into a nice warm roll. Yeah, Cheryl.
Time is not appropriate at that time to have enjoyment from the food. They should be, it's the bread of affliction. So it just isn't the time to, have bread and butter and
I don't
grilled
know.
cheese sandwiches and
I don't know. Look, when people were liberated from the camps, right, they had to be careful, right? They couldn't eat very rich food. Their body had become so malnourished that the body, and there were those Nebuch who survived the camps and didn't survive the meal that was given to them afterwards. Their body couldn't process it, right? But at the same time, we're not going to give them horse soup either. We're not going to give them the same garbage. We're not going to give them a little morsel of bread as they were eating, as they were on their starvation rations in the camp. We're not going to continue to give them the camp food. We have to gradually break them in. But we don't have to give them the same camp food. Why were they given the same camp food over there? Why were they given that bread? Yeah, Rose.
Maybe because so they can understand what they were lacking. So, something about lacking
Okay.
better.
To feel what they were lacking. All right. Kathy?
I think it also keeps you humble, that you're not rejoicing in the downfall of your enemy either.
Okay. We have that concept, right? We drop out some of the drops from our cup of wine, right, for the pain that they went through. Okay, I hear all that. I would just add a thought that we needed to realize that God, right? This goes back to the verse that is most quoted and cut off in the middle. Let my people go. Shalach et ami. But what comes after that? V'ya'avduni. We needed to realize that we were leaving this debilitating, degrading servitude, slavery to Pharaoh in order to have an uplifting servitude to God. And therefore, as we left Egypt, we need to recognize that we are still Avadim. But now we're Ovdei Hashem. We're servants of God. And therefore, it wasn't like now we're going to eat, drink, and be merry. now, and to realize, to take this a step further, Ein ben chorin, a person, right? We say that the words of the luchot were charut, were engraved, and our sages have a play on words. Al tikrei charut, engraved, elachirut, freedom. Real freedom comes about when we are in full control of ourselves. When we're able to be serving Hashem and be in control of ourselves, that is the true chirut. A person can be free, but they're addicted to so many things, which doesn't leave them as free people. It could be substances. It could be things that the person feels they need to look at, the things they need to do. There's, you look at blank Anonymous, and you've got Alcoholics Anonymous, you have Narcotics Anonymous, you have Overeaters Anonymous, you have a sexual, I don't know the term for it, Anonymous. You have people who are addicted to so many things. And these programs are amazing programs to help a person be freed, be emancipated from these chains of slavery, from these addictions. But not being enslaved doesn't mean that we are free. Al tikrei charut ela cherut. It's through Torah. It's through connection to God. It's through Ezu Gibor Hakovich. It's Yisroel. A powerful person is one who can control themselves. That is a person who is free. And therefore, we interject the climax, the cliffhanger, with the servitude that we'll have to Hashem. And we leave Egypt, and the very first thing that we do is we eat that matzah. And we are remembering where we were and recognizing where we are now. We didn't leave Egypt for a cakewalk in order to be able to just do whatever we want to do. It's in order to live our life channeled, aligned with the Ratzon Hashem, with the will of Hashem, and that's what makes a person truly free. And we say in our Hallel, King David, let me find that exact pasuk. Yeah. Ana Hashem ki ani avdecha. I'm your servant. Ani avdecha ben amasecha. I am your servant, the son of your handmaid. Pitachta l'moseirai. You have opened up, you have released my bonds. Meaning, what makes us free? When we can feel, Ani avdecha ben amatecha. I am aligned with your will, Hashem. I am your servant. That's pitachta l'moseirai. That's how you've opened up that which binds me. You've put me fully in control, that I can choose, and I'm the master of myself. Right? It might be easy to dominate others. Ezehu Gibor Hakovish et Yisroel, one who can be control oneself. So we left Egypt, and that's why in our morning prayers we say Baruch Atah Hashem Ga'al Yisroel, blessed are you God, you redeemed Israel, and then we can't interrupt with anything else. We have to have Geula, redemption, and then Tefillah, and then our service. We go right from that blessing into our Amidah Shmona Esrei, and you can't interrupt. Why are we, right? You can't answer Amen to a Kaddish, you can't answer Kedusha, you can't answer Baruch Hu, all these parts of davening that are such important parts of davening, we can interrupt elsewhere to answer if we hear someone saying that. There we can't. Why? Geula, Tefillah. We were redeemed in order to serve, in order to eat matzah, in order to elevate ourselves. Instead of this degrading slavery, we have this uplifting, holy servitude. We leave, we eat matzah. We recognize the moment we leave, there's no break between Geula and tefillah. We have to go right into this connection to Hashem, because that is what is uplifting. That is what is true. Al tikre charut elachayut. That is the true freedom. Okay, my friends. Yeshakach, everybody. We will call it over here. Let me wish everybody Shavua Tov. Yes, Kathy, sorry.
Just a quick question that has nothing to do with the study. My nephew lives in Kentucky and he's modern Orthodox. I was wondering, could I give him the link for Thursday's Lunch and Learn? I wanted to ask you before I did anything.
Sure.
Okay. They watched it on YouTube.
Good. The more people
So,
who want to study Torah, the greater the zechut.
okay.
I'll tell you a funny story about my father, Zichrono Livracha. So he was before the whole computer age, but he was really working hard because he knew that he loved communicating with his children and grandchildren. He always sent postcards, but he knew that electronic communication was where everyone was heading. So before he passed away, actually, he was taking lessons on how to work the computer. But this is during the 1990s. He passed away in 2002, January 2002. But in the 1990s, I was living in Israel still. I was writing my weekly Parsha on Torah.org, Parsha Insights. And I had quite a few subscribers at the time. So he'd always ask me, how many subscribers do you have? And I'd say, how many I have? And he'd say, wow, that must cost you a pretty penny to have to send out to so many people. And I'd say, no, Dad, I just write it and I hit enter and I send it and it goes. And he'd go, aha. A few months later, how many subscribers do you have now? I'd say, well, I have a few more thousand now. That must cost you a pretty penny. So it cost me the same pretty penny, Kathy, if I'm giving the class and there's 10 people or there's 20 people or 30 people. So please, who is this? Who's this? This is a cousin of yours, you said?
I call him my nephew. I've known him since he was a little boy, and he's family. So, and now he's 36, but we've been very close for decades.
Beautiful. Please, whoever wants to join, as long as they're not gonna Zoom bomb us, that's perfectly fine. Yeah. Yes, Cheryl.
So, in the beginning of the class, you mentioned that it was an odd break, at the end of Vayera and Bo, but isn't it the Greeks who decided this break, the paragraphs?
No. Absolutely not. We wrote a Greek translation of the Torah called the Septuagint. That's the only role the Greeks play. The chapters that we have, right?
The church
divided up the chapters that we have, and we just use the chapters as an easy means of reference. But our breaks are not according to the chapters, right? But our breaks are according to the paragraphs in the Torah, and the sages determined, Ezra and others determined how to break up the Torah into the 52 parshiyot, I think it's 52 parshiyot that we have, in order to be able to finish it in its entirety every year. Sometimes we need to double up parshiyot. We have a leap year, an extra month, 12-month year, 13-month, right? But we have this accordion that we always finish it, though, by Simchat Torah. Yeah. Okay, everybody. Those who can join us, see you on Thursday for our Lunch and Learn.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You're very welcome.
Rabbi.
Yes, Linda.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me? I don't want to interrupt you, but I
hear you now, Linda.
I wanted to make a comment that when the Israelites were released, some of them were still idolaters, weren't they? And they didn't want to leave Egypt.
Okay, so there were I'm sorry, did you finish, Linda?
Well, what I was trying to say was they were told that they had to eat the matzah because they too had to be reminded that they were now leaving Egypt. And sometimes people don't want to leave. They're so stuck in their way of living that they didn't want to leave. And they said There's a phrase that if it were not for us celebrating Pesach, we could still be in Egypt.
Okay, interesting. Interesting. There were many Jews who were so tied to the Egyptian culture they didn't want to leave, and many of them died during the plague of darkness. Right? That's one aspect. There were those, right? Now, when we left Egypt, there are many who had been serving idolatry, but at this point gave it all up, certainly, and were committed to Hashem. But there were still some who continued with that. There was what's called the Pesel Micha, the idol of Micha, that actually was brought out of Egypt. So there were some who were still immersed in idolatry. So, Lynn, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're suggesting that this was to let them know that if they're keeping their idolatry, then they're still in servitude to a degree.
Yes, that's right. And
Yeah,
that's true
that's a very
today
nice
too.
thought.
It's
That's
true
a very
today
nice
too.
thought. Thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you. Okay, everybody. A good day, good week. Those who can, see you on Thursday for our lunch and learn.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov.